Hi! I'm going to tell you all about my paranormal experiences, starting with the most recent one. I'm not doing this in any particular order, I'm just starting with this one. This story is something that actually happened to me, and there is some disturbing content in it. This took place at a side-by-side duplex that my fiance and I were renting on a street called Pine Hollow Drive. This story takes place between October 2012 and October 2013, so this is over a year. You're gonna think I'm crazy, but the second that we pulled up into the driveway of this house, I knew there was something wrong with it. And you're probably like, why did you move there in the first place? So just a little backstory, at the time we were living in this really small, really cheap, crappy apartment. And we were just really desperate to get out of there. We wanted something bigger, we wanted something better, and we were looking into townhouses because we didn't want to rent another apartment, and townhouses are really expensive. Like, we couldn't afford it at the time. A friend of ours at the time showed us this place, and we went to go look at it, and just, I got the eeriest feeling. It got worse when we actually walked into the house. The places that these feelings were the strongest was definitely the basement and the master bedroom. It was a big old house that was basically separated down the middle by a wall, a very thin wall, I might add. And it had, it had an upstairs, downstairs, basement, it had an attic. But the attic, this is going to be kind of important later, the attic was locked off on both sides, so no one could get to the attic. No one had access to the attic except for the landlord, I'm assuming. But yeah, the attic was, like, the door was there, but it had a big lock on it, and you couldn't get in. The door to the attic was in the master bedroom. And so yeah, nobody was able to get up there. There was nobody up there. Alright, so starting off, like I said, we were very desperate to get out the apartment. This place was very cheap. It had everything that we wanted. Washer dryer hookups, everything. Don't have to do apartment coin laundry anymore. It was awesome. So we scooped it up right away. We knew that we were not going to find a place as nice as this for as cheap as this. This was cheap. This was only $50 more than what we were paying at this cheap, crappy apartment, and it was a lot nicer and a lot bigger. We move in, and I want to say for about the first week, everything was fine. Everything was going normal. I also want to point out that for the first 2.5 years, I want to say at that point, 2.5 years of mine and my fiance's relationship, we never fought. I think we only had one, like, really big fight, and it was over something stupid. Other than that, like, we had we would bicker every once in a while, but nothing serious, never anything over anything serious. We were always a very happy, loving couple. We were extremely in love with each other. We were very happy. We were almost perfect for each other. So that is also going to be important later in the story. So everything was going normal, everything was fine, and then things started changing. I started changing. At the time I didn't really notice it. I do now, and even close family members and friends noticed it too. Like, we'll even talk about it now. I started getting really depressed. I started feeling really depressed. And I would have mood swings. I would have mood swings where I would get angry for just no reason. And I started getting really paranoid. Now, I'm a smoker, and I always would go out on the front porch to smoke. And this paranoia got so bad that I actually stopped going outside to smoke because I had thoughts in my head that everyone was out to get me. Everyone was out to get me. They wanted to hurt me. They wanted to, kill me. Like, everyone was out to get me. So I stopped smoking outside because I thought that if I were to go outside of the house, they would get me. I don't know who they are, everyone, but I thought they were going to get me. So because I didn't want to smoke really in the house, I didn't want the smoke smell, I didn't want the secondhand smoke getting on things, I started smoking in the basement. And I got kind of obsessed with the basement. This is an unfinished basement. It had, you know, spiders and spider webs and cobwebs and dust and dirt, and just, it had the concrete walls and the concrete floor. It was an unfinished basement. I turned it into my little man cave. We had like a couple futons down there. I rolled out a rug. I used a plastic bin as a coffee table. I had a TV stand down there and a TV. I had my Xbox 360. No. Yes. Yes. I did not have my own PlayStation at the time. Now I do. But at the time I had an Xbox, my fiance had a PlayStation. So, that is not relevant to the story whatsoever. Anyway, so basically, I would sit down there and chain smoke and play video games for hours. I would rarely come upstairs. The only times I'd ever come upstairs was to use the bathroom and to get a drink or maybe something to eat from the kitchen. Other than that, I was down there, and I'm talking from like 7 o'clock at night until 8 o'clock in the morning. I was down there. I had, you know, I had pillows down there, blankets down there. I didn't sleep down there, mostly because of the spiders, because I am extremely afraid of spiders. Yet, I don't know why I felt fine being down there all the time, because normally, like me now, would not go down there. I wouldn't even go down there to do laundry. Like, I don't know what was wrong with me, but I loved hanging out in the basement. Apart from changes with me, which we'll get back to, other things happened, like the light bulb. There was one light bulb in the basement that was in the back corner, like when you come down the stairs, it was almost directly behind the stairs, and it kept turning on by itself. It was always turning on by itself. It got to the point where we unscrewed the light bulb because we couldn't take it anymore, and it was freaking us out. Well, it was freaking me out. All other things that would happen would be the TVs would turn off by themselves while you were in the middle watching them. Sometimes they would turn on. If you're watching Netflix, if you're scrolling, you know, through Netflix, it'll just start going crazy. It would start scrolling crazy through all the movies, like scrolling up and down and left and right, just scrolling like crazy. There were quite a few times where the TV went off on me in the basement. It also happened with the TV in the living room, and then when we got a TV for the bedroom, it happened in there quite a few times. Other things like light bulbs would burn out in my hands as I was changing them. Light bulbs like never lasted. We went through them so fast. Bathroom light would turn on by itself all the time. I would hear noises going on up in the attic, like as if somebody was up there moving around, walking around. It sounded like there was somebody in the attic, but nobody had access to the attic. But it sounded like there was someone up there. Footsteps, moving, kind of like moving boxes and furniture around maybe. I don't know. Just like dragging noises, I guess you could say. And footsteps. I would just get an overwhelming whiff of cinnamon in just random areas throughout the house. It was always very cold in the house. It was always cold. I remember it being like 90 degrees in the summer, and this house did not have air conditioning. It only had heating. It was an old house. It did not have air conditioning. And it was cold. It did not get hot in that house. It was always cold. I remember having all the windows shut in like the dead of summer, it being like 90 and up degrees outside, and it felt like we had air conditioning. Like, it felt nice. Whenever I would take a picture or videos, I would constantly catch orbs in them, and I'm not talking like dust particles or like could be orbs. I'm talking bright as fuck, intelligent orbs that actually would float around, and like they were able to stop, and then like they knew what they were doing. Other things would be nightmares. I had constant nightmares every night, mostly about my fiance, and it was mostly about him trying to kill me. I remember I had a recurring dream, and they affected my waking life. I remember I had a recurring dream where I was laying on the couch, and I thought it was real. I was laying on the couch watching TV, and my fiance was laying on the floor watching TV, And he just stood up and walked over into the corner of the living room, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he turns around, he comes over to me, and he starts strangling me. And his eyes are black, completely black. And he has no emotion whatsoever. And I'm trying to tell him, it's me, what are you doing? And then I would wake up choking. Most of the time my fiance would wake me up because he would hear me choking in my sleep, which is frightening.